Hello, welcome to Unity Church of Sun Lakes. This is our last lesson only video for the summer, because next Sunday, September 10th, we will be meeting in person. Yay! I, however, will not be there next Sunday, but I will promise to be there on September 17th. I, myself, and my sister Amy, we will be in Minnesota celebrating our niece's wedding. So we're really looking forward to that. And of course, if I could be in two places at the same time, I would be there with you next Sunday. I hope you've all enjoyed the summer as hot as it was. Some of you I know were able to escape the heat. I was able to escape the heat for a few weeks. I spent some time in Wisconsin with my folks, and I also was able to do a couple trips to like Prescott. Last weekend I was up in Pine Top for a week, and it was beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. It was 60 degrees at night. So anyway, I hope all of you have some joyful stories to share when we get back together in person. Now, on to this Sunday lesson. This Sunday lesson is titled, Returning Home to the Changeless. As we walk this journey in life, we can sometimes be tossed and turned by conditions and circumstances. And we can occasionally get thrown off course and lose our way. We can now and again even forget who we are. This has happened to me many times in my life. Has anything like this ever happened to you before? Or maybe for some of you, it's happening to you right now. If you fall into either of those categories, then you will want to experience every Sunday this month. Each week, we will serve you in a profound way as we return home. Home to our gathering space, where we meet in person in Sun Lakes, Arizona at 10 a.m. in the Arts and Crafts building, and home to the source of all good. And if you don't yet fall into one of those categories, then tuck this all away, because it may serve you beautifully down the road sometime. We're going to use the following words from Charles Fillmore from his book, Talks on Truth, as our anchor quote for this month. He says, "Let us not look abroad for power or for wisdom, but seek at home. There, in the silent recesses of our own soul, we shall find the pearl of great price. The well of living water must spring up within us. We are His beloved, and nothing short of His opulence will satisfy us." So today we begin our journey by returning home to the changeless, this place within us that Fillmore spoke about, even when we are in the midst of change. So did you hear the one about the middle-aged woman who had a heart attack? She was rushed to the hospital and immediately taken into surgery. While she was on the operating table, she had a near-death experience. And in this experience, she saw God. And she asked if this was it for her. Was this her time? God said, "Oh, no. You've got another 30 to 40 years to live." So the woman came back into her body, and the surgery was a great success. As she was convalescing in the hospital, she decided to extend her time a little bit and have a little cosmetic surgery done. She might as well. She thought she's gonna live for another 30 to 40 years, and she had to be at the hospital anyway. So she wanted to look as good as she could. So she had a facelift, she had a tummy tuck, She even had her hairdresser over to dye and cut her hair. After she was lifted, tucked, dyed, and coiffed, she walked out of that hospital a brand new woman. And immediately she got hit by an ambulance and was killed. She arrived at the pearly gates, and she was in a pretty foul mood. And she confronted God. She says, "Hey, what's the big idea? I thought I was going to be down here for another 30 to 40 years. To which God replies, "To tell you the truth, you have changed so much, I didn't even recognize you." Sometimes change that comes upon us can seem so great, we don't even recognize our own lives. But today, we're going to ground ourselves in that which never changes, which is something we can always recognize. So what I want to do this morning is give us a foundation for handling change, any kind of change, whatever the type or magnitude. Whether it's the type of change that causes us to say, "Thank goodness," or "Goodness no." Whether it's finding a fabulous job or losing one. Whether it's getting married or getting divorced. Whether it's moving into your dream home or feeling forced to move because the change in a life situation. Whether it's having a baby or having someone you love make the transition. Whatever the change is we face, our foundation is the knowledge that there is one thing that has not and will not change. Thank goodness. And that thing is God. Seasons do change, but God is changeless and always present. For we walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7. And Fillmore says, prayer changes the one who prays, not God, for God is changeless. Ernest Holmes, in the Science of Mind textbook, says, forms come and forms go, but the power back of them is changeless. Form is temporary, but mind is eternal. Change is always taking place within that which is changeless. And Emma Curtis Hopkins, the mother of New Thought in Scientific Christian Mental Practice, wrote, "The spiritual or real world is not changed by our words. It is the same changeless good yesterday, today, and forever." We might say that God is the changeless in the ever-changing, and when we ground ourselves in the changeless, we can have a whole new perspective on change. In fact, when we are grounded in the changeless, every change that comes into our lives can propel us forward. When we are grounded in the changeless, every change has within it the possibility of greater good. Every change has within it the possibility of greater good, even when you feel your foundation underneath you shift and move. Listen to what Jesus said about a strong foundation, which is found in Luke chapter 6. "Whoever comes to me and hears my sayings and does nothing is like a man who built a house on the earth without a foundation. And when the flood arose, the stream beat vehemently against that house, and immediately it fell, and the ruin of that house was great. But he who hears my words and follows them is like a man building a house who dug deep and laid the foundation on the rock itself, on the rock against which the stream beat vehemently, but could not shake it, for it was founded on the rock. And what did he mean by hears my words and follow them? Jesus told us over and over again to live a spiritual life, to trust in God as our sole support, to seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all the rest shall be added unto us. In other words, to keep our spiritual vision clear, to trust that which is changeless. That is how we will build a foundation on a rock which will weather the storm of any change whatsoever in our lives. The death of a loved one is the most severe change we will ever face. And it is through that kind of experience that our recognition of the changeless is vital. But we face many, many changes in our lives. We face many changes of lesser severity on a regular basis. And let us remember, in any change, whatever the magnitude of it is, when one door is shut, another opens. When a door closes and locks shut, we have an opportunity through the changeless Spirit of God within us to find an open door. There always is one. When we have patience, faith, and love to look for the open door, we will always find it. I'd love for you to spend some time this week thinking about those doors that shut on you and what door opened for you to keep you evolving and moving forward in your spiritual life. A New Thought minister did once say, however, it is true that when one door closes, another one opens. But I have to tell you something. That hallway is a real... And it is true. The hallway can sometimes be a challenge. But if we know that we are anchored in and grounded on that which does not change, then we will find the new door. So never allow change in your affairs to become a closed door that bars your path to progress. Know that every ending is also a beginning. I love this example of composer Franz Joseph Haydn. As a small child, he was trained to sing and was taken at age 8 into the cathedral choir of St. Stephen's in Vienna. He sang solo parts and received valuable musical instruction, as well as he earned his living this way. He was a member of this choir for 9 years when his voice broke, and the director fired him and turned him into the streets. At 17 years old, he had lost the only life and livelihood he had ever known, and he was penniless. Yet, he soon made a better career as a teacher, and then a composer. In 1760, he was made musical director at the court of a prince in Australia. In 1760, he was made musical director at the court of a prince of Austria. He held this position most successfully for 30 years. Then the prince died, and the musical group was disbanded, and Haydn, now 58 years old, was once more without work. But he refused to be ruffled. He accepted commissions for 2 composing and conducting ventures in London, and again did some special teaching with a young Ludwig von Beethoven as a pupil for a time. It was during this time that he wrote some of his most famous works, such as The Creation and The Seasons. Twice in his life, he had been cast aside, but built a new and better life every time. So, if you do not already have your house built upon the rock to meet every change with unchanging faith in the certainty of the divine flow, get it now. Don't wait until you need it. Don't be like the Scottish atheist who was spending a quiet day fishing when suddenly his boat was attacked by the Loch Ness Monster. In one easy flip, the beast tossed him high into the air, and then it opened its mouth to swallow him. As the man sailed head over heels, he cried out, "Oh my God, help me!" All at once, the scene froze in place, and as the atheist hung in mid-air, a booming voice came down from the clouds. "I thought you didn't believe in me." "Come on, God," said the atheist. "A minute ago, I didn't believe in the Loch Ness Monster." My friends, get your grounding now. So then you'll have it when you really need it. I invite you to ground yourself into the changeless. To recognize that God is ever present, ever available, as near as your hands and feet, as close as your breath. Even as one door closes, even as you walk down a hallway, that can be even before you find the new door, and even as you open the new door, know that God's changeless love, peace, and power are ever with you, always. So for the next few minutes, I ask you to sit in silence and use this time to build the foundation of solid rock underneath you, in your own heart, in your own mind, and in your own way. Make a connection with the changeless reality, the eternal one. God bless. Have a beautiful week, and I will see you on September 17th. Be well.